Welcome, Nick Knock's Corner. This here is Callum, and we're going to be doing a Lord of the Rings readathon on my Discord, and I believe you're also running it over on another Discord as well.
Yeah, the channel is Larry Has Opinions. And he'll have links to his Discord and any of the videos that he posts.
Yeah, awesome. So, what's your plan set up for like read along time?
So it's over a whole year, and we started with The Hobbit in June. We're reading one book per month for a whole year. And basically, I had the idea because it's going to be the 20th anniversary of the movies this year.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I was in a bit of a slump, kind of start of May. I was thinking what I could do to get out of it, and I thought Lord of the Rings always gets me out of it. So, but because it's a bit of a special occasion, I thought I'll do everything that I own by Tolkien. So that works out to roughly a year's worth of reading. So
nice. Yeah, I have pretty much all those same books too. So I'm actually really excited for it. Today I actually just found a book of his that he translated about the Green Knight.
Green Knight.
Yeah, I think it's an old folk tale that he translated because it's sort of like his Beowulf and King Arthur translation he does.
Yeah, I bought the Beowulf one.
Yeah.
We'll be reading that. That's the last book, so that'll be next May.
Yeah, I'm really excited to try out the Beowulf one. I heard it's one of the best translations of.
Yeah, I especially got the Tolkien one because John Wynne said that his favorite version is the Tolkien edition, the Tolkien translation. So, and he's got his endorsement.
Awesome author, so I trust him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm so excited because as many of you know, Lord of the Rings is my absolute favorite story in the entire world. I had this obsession with it since I was a kid, and I have watched and rewatched the movies so many times. I have read and reread the books so many times. I'm definitely hopping in for some of this. Maybe not Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I might actually try to fit it in if I can. But I am definitely hopping in, especially when we do Silmarillion. Are you doing Unfinished Tales?
Yeah, so it's The Hobbit, then the trilogy, then Silmarillion, then Unfinished Tales. So I think Unfinished Tales is October.
Okay,
I think that's what it works out as. So
I'll definitely be doing those. Are you going to be looking at doing Children of Huron, Beren and Luthien, as well as The Fall of Gondolin?
Yeah, so I'm doing all of those. I can't remember the order off the top of my head, but I did put a video out with the order, and obviously it's in your Discord as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was basically The Hobbit, the trilogy, Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, then those three. But I think in between is December, and for December, I'm going to read his Letters from Father Christmas.
Ooh, that would be a good one. Yeah. That's actually one of the only Tolkien books I don't have.
I got the centenary. I can't say that word. Centenary, the 100-year edition that came out is like it's really tall, with like a massive hardback. Yeah, Centennial. That's it. Yeah. So it's a massive book. I got that, so I can't wait to read it.
Now, did you see that there's going to be Nature and Landscapes of Middle Earth coming out this year?
Yeah, so that's the only one in the entire read along thing that I don't own yet, obviously, because it's not out yet.
Not out yet.
Yeah. I think that is possibly the second last. I think that might be April next year. I think is what I put it as. But yeah, Also, there's the slight change to the schedule because he brought out the new hardcover edition of
Perilous Realm.
Perilous Realms. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got that for my birthday. Didn't even realize it was out. So I'm going to try and squeeze that in December as well.
I want a paperback.
I think it's the exact same edition. It's just he brought it out in hardback to match all the other. Well, they brought it out in hardback to match all the other ones.
Yeah, I did check it out to see if it was going to be any different, and there wasn't any changes. Like, yeah, so that's why I didn't even bother for that. But I am so psyched because there's actually a couple books here that I haven't read. I haven't read Children of Huron yet,
I read that.
and I haven't read Baron and Luthien yet.
I've not read Baron and Luthien. I read Children of Huron.
I've read Fall of Gone.
A decade ago.
What's that?
I said I read Children of Huron probably close to a decade ago.
Oh, okay.
I loved it.
So when it first came out, pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, I've not read Fall of Gondolin or Baron and Luthien.
I have read Fall of Gondolin. And I haven't read Beowulf yet, so I'm really excited for that.
I've not read The Silmarillion in a very long time. So I have read it, but I've not read it in a very long time. So I'm looking forward to reading that one again.
I think I've only read that one twice, and both were before I was 20.
Yeah.
And
I think I was still in high school when I read that one. So.
And Unfinished Tales I've read once, I think.
I think I've only read that once as well. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to revisit those because, like, those are things that I haven't touched recently. But like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, I just read them. When was that? Like in August last year or something like that?
I read The Hobbit summer last year.
Yeah.
But I've just finished reading it in June there again. But I just for Christmas there, I got the box set that you got when it first came out, the newer editions.
Oh, those are freaking beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, I read it with that edition this time, and it was amazing. It is a heavy book, like.
Yeah, try doing The Return of the King, man. That thing's gonna be a beast. I've gone through the pictures on all those books. They are beautiful.
Yeah, the artwork's amazing. The thing that I wasn't expecting that I really liked was the chapter headers and like the grayscale pencil drawings. Yeah. They look amazing.
Now, did you order the Tolkien special edition of the trilogy, all in an omnibus sort of book where it's all three of them in one? It's the red with black and gold and all the beautiful.
The really expensive.
The really expensive
coming out later this year. Yeah.
Special edition.
Yeah, I ordered the really expensive version. They had a slightly cheaper version that still looked amazing. Like I'd have been quite happy with that, but my wife was nice to me and said that you can order the leather bound one. So
same with my wife. We have such great wives.
It really helps. It really helps.
It does, especially when they're totally like, "Here, feed your book habit. Just keep feeding." There you go.
I think my wife's getting close to the limit now.
My wife bought me a shelf.
My wife let me go pick up a shelf. But then she said, no more.
I looked at her and she was like, listen, I want to move the living room around. And I said, I hate change, mind you. Like, I absolutely do not like stuff being moved around. We had just moved stuff. I had just gotten used to it. And she was like, I want to move stuff around. And I want to get another shelf. And I was like, I don't know. Stewed on it for a little bit. Kind of looked at her and said, that means I got to buy more books. And so she goes, that's fine. I just want another shelf. And I was like, okay. So we compromised and we got another shelf.
Teamwork.
No. Yeah. So more books by Tolkien.
Well, they seem to keep bringing them out.
I'm okay with that. I wonder how many Christopher Tolkien got done before he passed away.
I think that they've got a few in the back catalogue to come out. Like,
I would imagine it's going to be very interesting to see what comes about with it.
yeah, I'm quite surprised they waited so
What's that?
long. I'm saying I'm quite surprised they waited so long to bring out the leatherbound edition they're bringing out with his illustrations.
Yeah, that was something that I was really surprised about because
Yeah, I
these
thought they
are
would have brought
all
out.
his own drawings and stuff,
Yeah,
and his
I thought
own
that would
little
have been
jot
awesome.
notes like that. Like,
I can't wait to read that one. It, it comes out just after I finish reading the trilogy, though.
ah,
So I'll probably just flick through it to look at all the drawings and stuff. But
I
it's
might,
probably, to be fair, it's probably not an edition I would physically read. I'd be too scared of damaging it.
I might read it.
Yeah,
I might read it. I might hold off and wait to read that edition.
I'd be too scared.
Like I already know the book. Like I know a lot of it that I can have conversations with people who are currently reading it. And even then, they just sort of enlighten me at times when I don't know stuff. Because
You know, the people that I quite like talking to about Lord of the Rings are the people who don't really like it.
yeah, there's a ton of people that don't like it at all, and
I quite like hearing why they don't like it because I have no comprehension on how you couldn't like it. So
right, I'm the exact same way with that. I don't get how you don't like it, but I do at the same time understand, like, because I've talked to so many people who don't like it,
yeah,
and they all have the same grievance. Tolkien goes on too long. But
yeah,
that's kind of the thing I love.
yeah.
Like,
Like
I mean, I guess when you're getting into the Lord of the Rings and you start off with the Fellowship of the Ring. Now, this is something I've noticed from my used books I've bought. They make it about halfway before they get to Moria, and then they stop reading the book. It's like you're just getting to the best part. And you can't treat this like it's one book. This is the beginning of this book,
yeah,
right? And so it's sort of like Wheel of Time in the sense that, and Wheel of Time, I think, is sort of like Lord of the Rings because they're taking it from Lord of the Rings. But essentially, you don't expect the first four books to be, you know, to get you to where the end of the book is. Those first four books are the beginning of the book.
yeah.
It's the beginning of the story. So this is sort of like, they make it to Moria or just before then, and they stop reading it. There's no more creases in the spine, and that's it. That's where they all stop. Every single
That's crazy.
for that book used. Now, when I talk to people, they say he likes to go on, or they particularly don't like how he uses language. But you got to remember, dude wrote this in what, the 40s?
Plus, like that was literally his job. Like languages was his job.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean, it's going to be higher end, and yeah, if you're used to reading modern day writers, not all of them. There's still some that write kind of flowery and stuff, but most tend to go for a more simple, faster paced style.
yeah.
So I think if you, a lot of people maybe seen the movies, and I think the movies are a bit faster paced. Obviously, they need to be in movie format, and I think if they've seen them, they go to the book. It's quite jarring because like you spend so much time going through each different part.
And you spend so much time in the Shire at the beginning.
That's my favorite part. Like the Fellowship is my
I agree.
favorite book.
I agree. Fellowship? Fellowship or Return of the King? I don't know. I have to think on that. But Fellowship is fantastic. And being in the Shire is like home to me. I grew up in the country. I grew up, running around the woods. I grew up running around the fields. That apple orchard, and farm animals, that was my life. So like I lived with like hundreds of acres behind me to go run around in the woods. So for me, the Shire is like home, so I absolutely love reading the Shire. Um, and then like I think the most exciting part for me in the Fellowship of the Ring is when they're all sitting down and having dinner together before the Council of Elrond,
Yeah.
and you're kind of starting to learn who everyone is, and you get the old stories of Bilbo and Gloin and all that sort of stuff. Just really love that, and that's also I think where Bilbo and Aragorn sing about the Dunedain.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy to think how much they left out in the movies. I mean, the movies are so long, but
Yeah.
they leave out so much.
But that scene, like I find Tolkien does this too in Return of the King, when the whole fellowship finally gets back together and they're feasting in the hall just like after Aragorn gets crowned. And it's like that is also one of my favorite parts
Yeah.
because there's something about the camaraderie of everyone sitting down and eating dinner, having a conversation with each other, right? So it was something I absolutely loved.
Especially after everything they go through. To
Exactly.
just meet at the end and
There's
decompress
the,
and thing.
there's the whole thing of like Merry and Pippin being taller, Frodo giving Sam his mithril shirt and Sting to wear for the like dinner. Them sitting down, Gimli and Legolas like getting along now. Last time Frodo and Sam saw them, they were not getting along.
Yeah.
They weren't buddies, right?
I have to say, I think
It's so
they're
much that happens. And then also you get to see Gandalf and they get to talk to Gandalf. Like they thought Gandalf was dead. There
yeah,
is so much that happens at that dinner. And it's just like he writes dinner so well. He writes those intimate moments particularly well.
what was that quote in the Hobbit? If more people cared about good food and drink, the world would be a better place.
The world would be a merrier place. Yeah,
Merrier place. Yeah.
it's very true.
I think that's still my favorite quote in the Hobbit.
It's one of the best, definitely. And The Hobbit is such a fantastic story. I was just mentioning to you that I have sold countless books of The Hobbit, like
Yeah.
hand sold to kids because I work in a bookstore. So when I get a kid comes in who doesn't know what they want, their parents like, you got to get a book. And I'm like, do you like dragons? If the answer is yes, I'm like, here's The Hobbit.
You're not going to like this one.
Yeah. So, and you know what? I think that's also something that turns people off from The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings is how jarring the writing style is. The Hobbit is very much a very boop, 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 done. And The Lord of the Rings is like a boop, 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 done.
Yeah. I
Like
think
there's that big long space of the journey going on, but then it's like you're hitting those motions and those strides and those check marks of what you want to do in the story.
yeah. I mean, when you look at the ground they cover in The Hobbit, like it's a very fast paced book.
It's very fast paced, especially if you compare it to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Because like you could have stretched that out to be Lord of the Rings if you want, for the amount of stuff that happened in it.
Yeah.
There would just be a lot more walking and birds and trees.
Yeah. And I mean, probably my favorite chapter that he's written has to be Riddles in the Dark. That's
Oh, Riddles in the Dark is great, but I think my favorite is Out of the Frying Pan and Into the Fire,
yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
where they all just kind of like, once again, the grouping of getting back together after being split apart. Like, it's only for a moment that they're split apart inside Goblin Town. But I mean, once they're back together, like, there's that nice camaraderie they have. And then, like, the wolves come and chase them up the trees, and the eagles come and save them. And, that's the end of the chapter. So much happens in that small little chapter. Like,
So much happens in every small little chapter.
I know he jams packs that like goodness in there.
Yeah, it was really good. Like I like reading the book. I think it's a very common thing that people prefer the Hobbit book to the movies. But like I thought with the Lord of the Rings movies, they were true to the characters like of the book, whereas they changed so much about the characters in the Hobbit.
I felt the Hobbit movies were more true to the book and less so to the characters.
Yeah,
And also they added stuff to extend it. Because
yeah.
like, let's be honest, it should have really been two movies.
You know, I think they probably could have done it in one.
I think it would have been too fast paced. Too it was just felt like too. Do you remember watching like the old what was it? Justice League? Where it felt like it was like five movies jammed into one.
I don't think I ever watched the old one.
It's a mess. It's just like so much happens. It's literally boom, 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 boom. It's just like, okay, we're doing this, we're moving on. We're doing this, we're moving on. We're doing this, we're moving on. And I think that if they were to make The Hobbit in a single movie, the way Peter Jackson does things, I think it would have felt too rushed. I think two movies would have been ample enough time to fit everything in, had it done perfectly. Now, in saying that, he gave us all of that. Plus, he gave us the White Council stuff, chasing Sauron out of blah, 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 what's the place?
Dumbledore.
Door, yeah. And then we also got to see, a little bit of motive behind the orcs and goblins that are coming for the War of the Five Armies, which
Yes, but they
there
did.
was no motive in the books.
Yeah, they did. They did bring a fair bit from the appendices into the movies.
Yeah.
Which I suppose like it did fill it out.
Now, the love triangle, did not care for. Like,
No.
listen, if you're gonna put Legolas in there as like a background character, just be like, it's Legolas. That would have been cool. But to give him a whole story arc and then to create a love triangle, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad. Like, I was cool with them adding in female archer elf. Like, that's awesome. Definitely want to have, because honestly, Hobbit is so sausage party. There's not a girl
It
in it,
really is. Yeah, it really is.
right? Like, so if you want a female audience to connect with someone, you got to make a badass someone. So Tariel could have been an awesome character. Like, she was pretty awesome, except they made her the romance for a dwarf and Legolas, which didn't need to have Legolas there for that. Like, no, even no, shouldn't have happened. But it did. We got the movies, and you know what? I'm gonna
I'd
enjoy
rather,
my time in Middle Earth.
yeah, I'd rather have them than not have them.
Exactly. I'm gonna enjoy my time in Middle Earth. Are they as good as Lord of the Rings? No, not even close. But will I include them in all of my marathons? Bet your ass I will.
That's another thing about the read along this year is in December. We'll be watching the movies.
Well, yeah, you're gonna do a movie marathon with us all at the end.
Yeah, and in December because the movies were always released in December, so
Okay.
we're going to do it in December. So it's kind of in the middle of the read along, but we'll do it in December. We'll watch all three, and it's got to be the extended editions. So
Yeah, well, is that does anyone watch the theatrical editions?
I don't
The
know if
only
anyone does.
time there's only two times in my life that I've watched theatrical editions for Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying like two times total. I'm talking about only like two occasions. The first occasion was when the movies were coming out and the extended editions didn't exist yet. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, when I have been on Netflix and the only thing they gave me was theatrical editions. That's it.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have thought that most people
Yeah.
watch the.
Amazon Prime has the rights to the movies, and so they have the extended editions on there.
Do they?
Yeah,
I
all
didn't
three of
know
them are
that.
extended. So I was like,
That's good because I needed to rebuy Return of the King because watched it that many times, the disc doesn't work anymore.
I did that to the Two Towers disc because, like, I was a little obsessed when Fellowship came out. Like, I read the books just previous to it coming out, and I was only a little obsessed. But then I watched Return Fellowship of the Ring, and I became really obsessed. So I started reading the books over and over and over again. And then Two Towers came out, and that's when I was like marathoning movies back to back to back to back. And then Return of the King came out, and I marathoned it back to back to back to back. Like, have you ever seen that stupid Facebook post where it was like, woman watches Return of the King for more hours than anyone else on record or something like that? And then she told the story about how she couldn't fall asleep during her pregnancy when she was pregnant. So she would put on Return of the King and just put it on to fall asleep to every night. But Netflix would log the hours that she watched it. So Netflix was like, this person has watched it this many hours. Check this out. And it was like she was falling asleep to it every night. And I was like, listen, I have watched this that many hours, plus I don't know. And I didn't sleep through any of it.
I'd say I've watched the extended editions each at least 50 times.
That's it.
At least.
Oh man, we have done them 4 to 6 times a year, every year since me and my wife have been together. That's almost 8 years, or maybe 7. And then I watched them on my own a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
They're just, in my opinion, they're the best movies ever made.
Yeah. Today, I seen a thing on there that was like, name 3 movies you've seen more than 100 times. And I was like, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, Return of the King.
It sounds about right.
I've only seen the Hobbit movies. I like 5 or 6 times.
To be honest, I've not even seen the extended editions of the Hobbit movies.
No?
No. So
The
I
extended
don't.
one's not bad.
But do they make it slightly better?
I don't know if it makes it any better. It's just more Middle Earth.
More time there, yeah.
More Middle Earth.
I've
It makes your entire marathon 23 and a half hours.
So you need a full day.
You get a full 24 hours out of it.
Because I've seen they brought out the 4K remastered with like all 6 movies, extended editions.
I seen that. I didn't get it. I don't know. I've heard
I
people
don't
don't
think
like it very much.
I don't think I've got a good enough telly for it. Like I've got a 4K telly, but it's quite an old one, so I don't think it'd be good enough to. Plus, you probably need to get like one of the new consoles or a 4K DVD player or something like that.
I just got a regular TV thing, so like I'm not gonna drop money on that. I already have it.
Yeah, it'd probably only be worth it if you had like a projector with a big screen.
Yeah.
Maybe then it'd be worth it. But
what I am waiting for is Peter Jackson to do a director's cut and release one with Scouring of the Shire. He filmed it.
Yeah.
He filmed it and never bothered even editing it. It got left on the chopping room floor. Never got CGI'd, never got anything done to it aside from the acting and the filming. That was it.
But like, is that like why? Like that's such a big part of the end of the
Because he was
whole.
working on it right up until the studio was like, give it to me. And so he was like, okay, here you go. And I'm like, listen, dude, if you're gonna make an extended edition, an
Put it in there.
extended edition, I'm already sitting here for 5 hours. I will sit for 6. I will sit for 7. Give me my scouring. Now, have you been watching The Friendship Onion with Dom and Billy?
Yeah, I've not seen the most recent one yet, but I have been watching it. Yeah,
I've been having so much fun with it. And I seen an interview with them, and I think it was Nerd of the Rings. I don't know if you watched them or not.
I've
On YouTube.
seen the one that Men of the West done with them. They've done one on Men of the West's channel.
Oh, maybe it was that one. I'm not sure which one. They did a couple. Anyway, they asked them, will you be doing a scouring of the Shire? Like, read. And he was like, and they were like, maybe for Christmas, if we get um, Elijah and Sean, maybe the 4 of us will sit down and read Scouring.
That would be so cool.
And I was like, fanboying, come on, make this happen.
That would be so good.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? Just like get them sitting down doing it. And the only thing that would not be cool is they should have Christopher Lee. Unfortunately, he's passed and that can't happen. But that voice would be so good. Like, I don't care if you're going to give me visuals. I just want the audio. And I want it done.
He was, I think, like the casting throughout the whole movie was brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Him as Saruman was exceptional.
Oh, he was phenomenal. And he was supposed to be Tolkien's choice for Gandalf.
Yeah.
So
And
can
he
you
wasn't
imagine
happy.
him and Ian
Yeah.
McKellen like switching roles for that? I just,
Ian McKellen would be a good Saruman.
you don't think so?
No.
I think he could have been, but I think he would have looked a lot more like Magneto.
What?
You know how he's Magneto in X-Men?
Oh, it would have looked a lot more like Magneto.
I think he would have, like, his acting style for being evil would have looked something like Magneto being evil
Yeah.
instead of that ominous dark that we got from Christopher Lee. 'Cause I don't know if anyone could bring that type of energy. Christopher Lee had like the booming voice. He had he had the stature. The look on his face was very wizardly. Like, everything about him was perfect. And I mean, let's be honest, Ian McKellen was a perfect Gandalf.
Well, yeah. But I wouldn't have had anyone else as Gandalf, and I wouldn't have had anyone else as Saruman.
Like,
Was
the
it? Was it
two of them were perfect.
like you know how John Rhys Davies done Gimli and Treebeard?
Yeah,
Did Christopher Lee do Saruman and Sauron?
he may have. I don't know.
I think I remember hearing that. Like just when you hear the ring talking to Frodo and stuff.
Very well could have. I could definitely see his voice being that voice. However, actually, I don't know because it was very gravelly. I'm not sure.
No, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. But yeah, they did a great job at casting, especially when you read the books. Now they did Farmer Maggot dirty.
Yeah. Farmer Maggot and Tom Bombadil.
Yes. I am a lover of Tom Bombadil. I'm someone who enjoys his eccentric style and being joyous and just singing, wandering around the woods. Got a babe of a wife. Like
Yeah, like that whole first half of the Fellowship, like, they really condensed it, and like that's some of my favorite parts of the whole trilogy.
Like Frodo moving houses.
Yeah,
That's like when he and Belladonna Sackville Baggins are having their chat about him giving up Bag End to her. And do you remember the part where he's like, Frodo did not offer her tea?
like so salty.
It's like, that is an insult in British terms.
But no, it was. I was meaning to ask you, what did you come to first? Was it the books or the movies?
So I had this friend named Alphonse, and we sat together in high school. And he had the Lord of the Rings books in the six of them in like the books
Yeah.
were split up in the single books. And so he had the first half of Fellowship, and he had just finished reading it. And he put it down. And I remember looking at it being like, oh, that's like a really cool, like 70s style art. He was like, this is Lord of the Rings. I was like, what's that? He's like, well, it's about elves and dwarves and hobbits and things. And I was like, oh, I don't know what any of those things are. And he was like, well, the movies are coming out next year. Okay. He goes, here, read it. So I read the first half of it, and I was like, now I want to like read the rest of it. And I remember asking my dad, like, can we go see Lord of the Rings? He goes, yes. And I was like, awesome. So we went out to a bookstore, and I actually, one second, went out to the bookstore, and I found this edition of Lord of the Rings that came out the year before Lord of the Rings, the movie. And so I purchased it and I read them, all of them, until they fell apart. This year, I went on our um, local sellers, like for used books and stuff, and some kid was selling this box set for like $20.
It looks almost new.
No creases. Except for the first half of the Fellowship of the Ring. Okay. And so I picked these up because, like, heart, just absolutely loved this edition. It was my first edition, had to get it. And so I got to read the books once before I seen the first movie.
See, for me, I had read The Hobbit before I seen the movies because where my mum used to work, they had a mobile library. Like it was like a library in a van, basically. And they'd go around all these places, and they had, see on the back of the new edition that we've got of The Hobbit, it's got the artwork of the dragon.
Yeah.
On his gold pile and stuff. So that was
trove.
Yeah, that was the front cover of the illustrated edition that she got me.
I have that one.
Yeah, the tall one. It's
No.
like bigger than.
Mine's like just that, but it has the illustrations.
Okay, well, it was the hard cover version of that she got me. I think it was like from my 8th birthday or something. So I have no idea why she bought me it, but so I read The Hobbit and I loved it. I think I read it twice before the movies came out because the movies came out when I was 11.
Yeah.
So I'd never read The Lord of the Rings, but I went and seen the first movie.
2000 is when the first one came out. 2001.
Yeah, 2001.
2001 is when those came out.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Because it's the 20th anniversary this year. Yeah.
So I was 14 or 13 when I read them.
Right. Well, my parents took me to see the first movie, and I think I went to see it 3 times. I loved it that much. I managed to convince them to take me. But after seeing the first movie, I got them, like my birthday after, I got them to get me there's like a bind up of the three, but it had it was like a movie tie-in cover of the orcs marching on Helm's Deep.
Okay.
So it was artwork that came out before the Two Towers movie.
Cool.
So I've actually still got it, and it is in pieces. Like the front cover's almost fallen off and stuff. I read it so many times. So I've seen the first movie. That was my first taste of Lord of the Rings. But then I read the full trilogy before I seen the other two movies.
Okay. Yeah. Like, and that was something wild, because then after that, you're kind of piecing the actors' faces in on the rest of it. Like, that was something that I thought was really cool. Like, it was my first. I always had difficult time reading. I actually never finished a book cover to cover until A Fellowship of the Ring, which is weird because what a book to finish cover to cover, right?
Yeah.
For your first book to finish cover to cover. And
like that being your first book is amazing. Like cover to cover.
book I finished, right? Every other book I'd get like partway through and stop. I have learning disabilities that just make reading a pain in the ass. I have learned skills over the years how to read, to the point now that I can do around 4 to 6 books a month, and I'm pretty proud of that. And of course, the more you read, the better you're going to get, and the faster you're going to get as well. So that was something that, Lord of the Rings did for me. It taught me how to read a book cover to cover, and taught me how to read at a decent pace.
I think before Lord of the Rings, the only types of books that I'd read myself were Harry Potter. I'd read The Hobbit and the Red Ball books. I used to love the Red Ball books; they were great. But
I think I
those
might
were
have done Hatchet, perhaps. I probably did Hatchet first. That might have been my first cover to cover. But like, I'm talking about chapter book, not like little kids'
yeah.
book. Because like I would count The Hobbit, and I would probably count Redwall, but I wouldn't count the Hatchet. The Hatchet's like 80 pages.
But no,
We all got to start.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Lord of the Rings was another level. So
Yeah, that's here. Anyway, I think that's good for today. Is there anything you want to wrap this up with saying about your readathon to bring anyone in? Of course, if you are on my channel, you can join my Discord. Link is below, and there's a link there to check out his rings. I'll turn it over to you to wrap up anything you'd like to say.
yeah, so we've got a few people joining in, and so far we've only read The Hobbit. So there's plenty of time to catch up. That's a nice short one, nice quick one. This month, July, we'll be reading The Fellowship. We'll be picking up pretty soon. And yeah, you can join in with whichever ones you want. You don't need to read all of them. I just thought, special occasion, I'd go through everything. But there's some people joining in just for Lord of the Rings. Some people, like yourself, might be joining in for the lesser known ones. But
I still might do Lord of the Rings. It's going to depend on my schedule, see if I can fit them in. They're, new books are kind of taking priority over rereads, just because I want to try and read stuff that's on my shelf. And if I spend that, 15 hours or whatever it is doing Fellowship of the Ring, 15 hours away from another book or two I could be doing, right?
yeah. But no, so yeah, just like I said, there was the two Discords. There's Nick's Discord and Larry's. They've both got channels open for chatting about the books. So yeah, just feel free to join in.
And we will put links down below for you to join not just my Discord, but Larry's, so that you can get over there and check out Callum's read along there as well, in case you're.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Nick.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and I hope when you wrap up doing the 3 books as a read along, I would actually love to sit down with you and talk straight.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I hope you guys all have a great day. And go check out the Lord of the Rings readathon. It's gonna be awesome. See ya.